and that the deviation card is present.
Okay.
Then we're coming in a flow. We're coming down to the left and we're checking our nav frequencies. We're checking to make sure that they're the frequencies we want for this flight. For example, if we're going on a local flight, we want Ormond and Orlando's VORs in.
Okay.
If we're going on a long distance flight and we're going to use other VORs, we want to load in those frequencies.
So we write it down.
Yes. For now, Ormond's frequency is 112.6.
Okay.
And it's already in. Orlando's frequency is 112.2. So using the small knob, and then we're going to put it in the far right box.
Right.
All right, next, we're going to come across to the radios. We're going to load in our radios for the frequencies that we are going to use for that flight, meaning ground, tower, and departure. The departure frequency, whichever one it gave us. Then we're going to be coming down to the left. Airspeed, we're checking to make sure it's at 0. Our attitude indicator, we're checking to make sure is level, blue above, brown below, and it's not up here at like 10 degrees. It's just a little bit above the horizon. Then we're checking to make sure our altimeter is set to the correct setting, which we would hear from the ATIS, which we have gotten before this.
Okay.
And we would check that the field elevation, or that the altitude it's showing is plus or minus 75 feet in regards to our field elevation. So our tolerances at New Smyrna, the field elevation at New Smyrna is 11. So our tolerances would be 86. So if this is showing 90 above or 90 below at the appropriate setting, then it's incorrect. After this, we go straight down and we go to timer. Down here, we're going to start going left on these soft keys. So messages, need nothing, nearest, need nothing, timer. And we're going to hit enter. And we're going to set our timer for 5 seconds. We're checking that it times appropriately, and we're stopping by hitting enter, and resetting by hitting enter. Then we're coming across to XPDR, standing for transponder, and we're going to make sure that our code is set to the appropriate transponder code.
Yeah, that's a give in the clearance.
Yes, so let's say they said 3425. Okay. We can also ident here, but we don't need to. So transponder, then CDI, we're going to press it 3 times. So we're checking to make sure that it doesn't get stuck on a certain frequency, and we're checking to make sure that it lights up, and it doesn't get stuck. So you really only need to press it 3 times, just checking for those 2 things. Then we're going to go to PFD options and hit bearing 1 for nav 1 and bearing 2 for nav 2. So these bearings will give you distance and heading information or course information for each of the CDI sources, which is GPS, VOR1, and VOR2. Notice how nav 2 is 112.6 Ormond, and this is Ormond. It tells us how far away we are and which direction. Bearing 1 gives us Orlando's information. Then we're going to hit the back button, and finally on this screen, check our outside air temperature.
Outside temperature.
Then that's it for the PFD. We would come over to the MFD. When we first start up the plane, it's that black screen, right? And you need to hit enter. So we would check our navigation data and make sure it's not expired. But now we can't really check it. We'll check it at the last stage. I'll show you how to check it in case you accidentally scrolled past it. So on the MFD, you're going to use the big knob here, and you're going to scroll 2 times to the right to the aux page. From here, you're going to scroll 2 times to the right again to the GPS status page. On this GPS status page, we're checking to make sure that we have more than 5 green bars. So that's GPS 1, more than 5. GPS 2, more than 5. Then we're checking up here in our RAIN, and we're checking at our present position if in 2 hours, enter, we will have RAIN. It says RAIN is available. We're also going to click SBOS, and we have a check for WAS. Now, if we have WAS, we don't technically need to check for that RAIN, but it's still a good habit to get into. So, if we were going on a cross country, we might put our destination by scrolling with the small knob K, big knob M, small knob L, enter, and then checking our arrival time, our date, enter, and computing whether RAIN will be available at that position for that time. Still, we have WAS, we don't need to do that, but we're still gonna check that. And then we're going to use the small knob and scroll 1 more time to the right. System setup. On this system setup page, what we are looking for is our time to be in UTC, our MFD data bar fields to hold ground speed, distance, cross-track and ETA. Whew, that scared the hell out of me. Okay, we can just leave that off, that's fine. Ground speed, distance, cross-track, and ETA. You'll see these MFD data bar fields present themselves up here, and their usefulness will really show itself in the holds and the approaches part. It's just a good setup that'll be useful to you later on. Then we're checking that our GPS CDI is in auto, and the nearest airport is showing hard and soft. These are really, or the hard soft is really preferential. Auto is showing that our CDI sensitivity automatically adjusts depending on the type of approach that we're doing. And it's pretty critical. Then we're going to do one more scroll to the right and do system status. From here, we're checking our LRUs. We're going to push in, and we're checking that our LRUs all have green check marks. Notice how this one has red X's. These red X's, do you say pitch, pitch motion, pitch trim? These red X's are all connected to our autopilot. So if our autopilot is labeled as inoperative and pulled out, then those red X's would be fine to go with. Other things that would have red X's would potentially be a no-go decision. For example, GDC1, this is our air data computer. If this had a red X next to it, we would not our air data computer would not be working properly. So it's imperative that it has a check mark. Once again, to check it, we would push in and scroll all the way through. Now, remember how I said we got to check that database to make sure that it is not expired? So this is the second place where we can check it. We'll hit the soft key database, and navigation is the only one we're looking for. Navigation expires the 13th of August. So our navigation database is expired. We would not want to go fly if it is expired. For us in the sim, okay, we'll go fly. But in the plane, we don't want to go fly. Finally, we're going to check our enunciator. You hear that? So with our enunciator test, we are checking to hear either an audible enunciation or to see that the audio panel, all of these lights light up. If we do not hear one or the other, that is also potentially a no-go decision. All right, from here, we're going to press and hold clear to get back to this main page. Then we're going to drop down to our altimeter, our standby attitude, and our airspeed. We're looking to ensure that this is set appropriately and matches what we see here. Same for this and same for this. So we're just checking our standbys. And then that is temporarily it for the ICC. The next step, to fully complete an ICC, you need to be taxiing. As we're taxiing, notice how this is turning in the direction of our turn and our slip skid is turning outside the direction of our turn. So as we're taxiing, we are looking for that. So our ICC is complete when we are turning, we can see that this is rolling and this is rolling to the opposite side.
So we turn left and turn right.
You really only need to turn like one direction. You can turn both to be safe, but you just want to ensure that the G1000 turn is turning in the direction and the slip skid is turning opposite the direction. So now, once you have seen that, you can firmly say ICC is complete.
Complete.
Okay, that's everything.
I have a quick question, please. Regarding to the red X
Yes.
Of the autopilot.
Yes.
You said that if we don't use the autopilot during the flight, so it's okay, right? Can you say it again?
Yes, I will explain it. So, autopilot can either be, notice how this is, the circuit breaker is popped. So, on this aircraft, the autopilot is inoperative. It does not work.
In this sim?
Yes, in this sim.
Okay.
So you would either see a placard that says AOA, INOP, etc. or something, and you would see that the autopilot is pulled out, and you're going to see those red X's there. On the aircraft that we fly, typically the autopilot will be working. So you should not see those red X's.
Okay.
I think that there is one aircraft where you will see red X's, but it says like inoperative and the circuit breaker is pulled out.
Okay, so we can go with this aircraft because
Yes.
there's no autopilot function.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, understand. Thank you.